we got to keep our head down. We got to keep moving. I like to think of what would Kobe do. Kobe wouldn't be smiling. He'd put his head down and keep working till he achieve what he want to achieve. So I feel like that's the whole vibe of the whole team right now. We're not satisfied, and we're going to keep going.
Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus television show here on the Mid-Atlantic Sports Network. Let's welcome our co-host this week, the former chaplain of the Washington football team, Mr. Milton Harding. A man Tom Knott once called Mad Mike, the mouthpiece of NCAA maniacs, Mike Baker. Washington football team beat reporter and member of the Fairmont University women's basketball 1,000-point club, Miss Donna Hopkins. One of the most prolific pass catchers in the 20th century, and four-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl wide receiver Gary Clark. And a man who played in the NFL for 14 seasons, and one of the all-time sack leaders in the NFL, Super Bowl pass rusher Tony Mac the Sack McGee.
Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. How many times have we come here on a winning streak? We've been talking about that. The Washington team has won a lot of games for them. At the same time, what do? You bring in a winning team. You always got the man here. He's the women's pet. He's the men's threat. He's the team's pinup boy. We talking about the G-Man. He's cool. He's back. I had to do him number one. So when he come in number one, here comes in the Homer next. Homer Jones is back in the house, y'all. Milton Hardaway, welcome back. We ain't seen you for a while. Donna Hopkins. How you doing, Donna? You see, I brought some people in here that's a little tighter than you, so I must get to them right away. But you can't throw the defense under the bus now. Jeff Boston, number 53, sitting next to me in the meeting room. I had to hear Joe Washington hum all day. But what he was the best center the Washington Redskins have had then and now. Jeff, welcome to the show. And then I go back to a guy that was a day that we started this show years ago. I couldn't even pay him to be on. He should have been paying me because he didn't know that much. But at the same time, what am I doing back with him now? But you know him. The hardest working man in show business. When he played with the Washington Redskins, when he wasn't carrying water for the Water Boys, they made him an H-back. He had a position they didn't even know about. And then he changed his name from Doc to Doc. I knew him as Rick. Welcome to the show, Doc. What's happening, guys? Well, I'm glad to be back. I know y'all can see. I'm very happy because the Washington team has something going. Do you know when you read the paper and they say, "Oh, they're playing for the playoff"? What do you guys think?
Well, Tony, it's amazing that we're even talking at this point about them making the playoffs because looking at the beginning of their season, it was a lot of question marks. But all I hear from the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball is we're putting the pieces together. We're coming together. And that's what you're seeing in this team right now, that they are coming together as a team at the right time of the season. And we look at that game when they won their fourth straight win, Tony. And, you know, like you said, I know we're not talking about defense right now, but the defense scored 14 of those points. But the question mark is surrounding if Alex Smith is going to be able to come back and play in that Seattle game with a right calf strain. But like I said, Tony, all they're talking about is we're finally putting the pieces together at the right time.
You said who scored 2 touchdowns?
It was the defense, Tony. Okay.
Excuse me.
But I tell the truth. I'm so glad
I got 2 offensive guys on the show that was offense. Hey, Rick and Boss, did y'all scored for us, but did we have to score for y'all? Y'all scored for yourself, didn't you?
Hey, I'm not going to speak for Rick, but Tony, We scored 541 points one year when you were there. And we lost 2 games where we scored at least 35. Are you kidding me?
Green Bay, Jeff. Don't forget Green Bay.
No, Rick bring that
When we
game
had
up
to bring
every time.
Tony in there, we had to get Tony mouth to mouth for substitution. We scored almost 40-some points and we still lost.
Do you realize that's
we
the
was at the game
highest?
talking about score one more, we'll get them.
Do you realize that's still the highest scoring Monday Night Football game in history?
Gotta be.
Wow.
I remember, and we were so far behind at halftime, and Dexter was in there. Let's go. Bus said, "Shut up, Dexter." But you know what? Let's take a look at this team, and I want to start looking at positions. And G, you right now, I want to ask you, and they feel like Terry is not. He's being shut down, and he's so important to this offense. But on Sunday, he did make a couple of catches. But tell me, what do you think the receivers have progressed this year with this offense?
I think overall the receivers have came into play. Once you got Sims back healthy, I mean, he's came on and really probably let things be easier for Terry. But every now and then you do get shut down in a game. They got defensive players too. They got great players as well. So every now and then you don't have that standout game. But overall, I think the receivers have done a great job. I mean, they've kind of carried the offense, but with Alex out, that hurts somewhat. It's going to be interesting to see if he gets back because, we said once he came back, they would start winning. So they
carried
have
the offense. You mean the tight ends didn't carry the offense? I mean, I thought, Rick, from
what
I understood.
The tight ends know the H-back, yes. The H-back definitely.
That was a nice comeback there.
The H-back carried us, before I didn't even know there was an H-back until Walker. Walker created the position. There was no before.
No, Terry Metcalf.
There was a fullback before. Walker.
Yeah, then Terry Metcalf. Gotta give Metcalf his credit. Because Metcalf played it as well. Maybe the first tight end to play it, but this kid now, man, I love what he's doing. Yeah. Their whole team is really evolving. I go back to Rouillet, Schweitzer, your Sheriff. I'm so proud of Lucas. Here's a guy that, might not have got to play had we not had an injury at left tackle. Big boy has been bending those knees. I look at Sharp, the right tackle. Jeff, I know you're thrilled because these are big men that are bending the knees now like old 66 could, and they are creating space. I'm thrilled with the blocking. Now, up front, they don't get to run the ball enough, so we don't get to see it on a consistent basis because they're still trying to trick people. But once they get back into their senses and start giving those big boys, put them in three-point stances, hand in the ground, let them move forward, we might be hard to beat.
I tell you what, Boss, I bring your point up, but I want to ask you one thing. A couple of years ago, Boss, everyone was talking about the offensive line is really hurting, and they always pointed to that center position because you didn't have that big-time player that can make calls and make plays like when you were there. Do you see a difference now in the center that they're playing with now? Is that a big difference in the offensive line? Or what other differences do you see in the offensive line?
What the center's responsibility is to let the right side and the left side know what is happening. If you're lined up on the left side of the offensive line, you really can't see what's going on the right side. So the center is basically the vision of the offensive line. And I think they've done a good job relaying the communications and keeping everybody on the same page. When I look at the Redskins offense right now, the key is going to be Alex Smith. No question.
You know what? I think that also, and Milt, you can tell me that, and I'm just concerned. I know that it's a possible physical injury, but do you think this will affect him mentally?
We were talking about that earlier when we came on, Tony. For the second week now, he's had an injury of some sort. He was bleeding profusely from his non-surgical leg, and then this week he had a calf strain. So I would imagine now this is not a normal guy when it comes to conditioning and when it comes to putting himself on the field of play. So I wouldn't count him out at all. And if he can play, he will. So, but if it is in his head, if his surgery didn't get in his head, I don't think the calf strain's gonna bother him too much. That's just me.
I agree with you. And Donna, speaking of that, if it does, or if he's not the same physically, we have to go back to that running game. Not a running back. He averaged 6.1. He only had 68 yards. They must have a better running game than they have had in the past. Do you think they're capable of doing that? Is it the running backs or the offensive line or the whole unit that needs to work better together?
Well, Tony, I think that they got behind in that game, and they sometimes they go away from the running game. But if you look at the last 3 games and 2 games before that San Francisco game, they did run the ball quite a bit. Antonio Gibson not being in there hurts them a little bit, but McKissick has been able to come in and make some noise also. And then you've got Barber. So I think they just have to commit to the run, because as Darrell Green said last week, that helps Alex Smith or whoever is going to be in there at quarterback. And if Haskins has to be in there at the quarterback, then you're going to need them to be able to run the ball. And they've got the backs, Tony, to be able to run the ball. And as Doc said, the offensive line is doing a tremendous job this year. So it's just about them committing to the running game.
Is this the offensive line we'll see in the future, Doc? Is this his future line, boss, Doc? Either one of you, will we see changes in it? Is this what the nucleus on the offensive line they're looking to build with?
Well, if you're in the NFL now, how long can you count on the line staying together? 2 years, 3 years? I mean, free agency is one thing that none of us got to enjoy. But let me say this, what our era did, it allowed continuity. Now, when you had Jacoby, Grimm, May, and myself, throw in Donnie Warren, Rick Walker, we all knew what each other were doing. And when there's continuity, there's confidence, because we don't want to let that other guy down.
Good point.
And that's one of the big things that I'm seeing that the Redskins are really working on right now, is trying to build that confidence. They need to know we can play with the San Francisco 49ers. We can play with the upper echelon teams of this league and not embarrass ourselves like you have for the last decade.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think
you know what? But go ahead, Doc.
So coaching, Tony, the tight end coach deserves a raise. I was a big fan of what we were doing in the past. This offensive line and the coach dealing with the injury. Sheriff has been hurt more than you were hurt in your career over the last 3 years. So, I mean, he's Elliott Ness. So I'm thinking right now, I'm always trying to upgrade, but I'm not overpaying anybody until we start being able to run the football. And that's not on them. That's as much on Turner. So to me, we ran the ball well because our head coach was an offensive lineman. See, and I'm not, until they prove it to me that we got the right mindset philosophically for the team, then I'm going to hold back. I'm cautious about it. Because all these young guys are trying to trick their way into getting head coaching jobs. Joe Gibbs, we 50 gut. It takes courage. Even though the Lombardi Trophy, named after a man that had a power sweep, all these youngins, all they care about is outflanking people and throwing the football. So right. I'm going to hold reservation back till I see it, but I feel good about it.
Donnie, look like you want to say something on that.
No, he's exactly right. Is that they don't commit enough to the running game for it to get established. And I agree 100% with Rick. Rick, thanks for pulling that out.
Oh,
I mean, you
God.
Hey, G, you got listen to your girl, G. Now, Rick, you took the... We got about 30 minutes, G. If we can't run the ball, do we have the receivers that can take over a game such as you did, you and Art and Ricky? Do we have that type of receivers or that type of potential where this team can win with their receivers without a running game? We have to know that because it may come up. You got about 30 seconds. Hit me with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can do it, but I mean, honestly, you have to have both proponents of each. You have to be able to throw the ball, you have to be able to run the ball. Now, you can be a pass first, run second team, but at the end of the day, your running back has to get 1,000 yards. I mean, we did it with the Redskins. We did it both ways. When I first got there, we ran first. By the time I left, we threw first, ran second, but EB still got his 1,000 yards.
There you go. You heard it from him first. And I'm glad you heard it from him because you heard Rick Walker say how much I was hurt during my career. I don't know. I knew that. I didn't even know he was on the team till I was at my retirement party. We'll be back in a moment.
We're seeing flashes of what we talked about early in the season. We see flashes of what we could be. And I feel like that's real good for our confidence, definitely.
We just don't want to give up anything. Like when we give up yards, we're frustrated about it. And I know on the D-line, we just try to go out there and hunt every play. And I'm trying to get there before Chase get there or Sweat get there or Ryan Kerrigan. So it's like a big competition.
Cameron, when you look at your play over the last 3 or so weeks, what has been the biggest difference that you see in your play?
I feel like everything's slowing down for me a little bit. You know, I'm out there, I can see more stuff, you know, coming in. I didn't think, you know, that into landing was gonna happen, you know what I'm saying? So I was through out in the fire and stuff was kind of moving fast at first, but it's definitely slowing down for me and I'm understanding a lot of stuff more.
Welcome back, and as you can see when the young man come in, it seems to be coming back to him, but it's coming back to the defense as well. And the one thing about it, Donna has thrown this defense up and under the bus for 10, 11 weeks now. So wait, I go to Donna Sunday. Donna, what did they do? They scored 2 touchdowns, great pass rush. Now, what I want to tell you about Chase that's interesting, and Rick and Boss will tell you the same thing as well as Gary, even though he's a wide receiver. This guy made a lot of plays on Sunday, but he made the plays because of his ability. He haven't even scratched the surface of having a game plan. When he get that, he could be unstoppable.
Tony, I never throw the defense under the bus. I just state the facts in what is going on. Rick, he doesn't understand the difference between the two is just the facts. But Tony, the defense has been playing well over the last 3 weeks. And you talked about Chase Young. This is a guy that he talks about being in the classroom, already going into the film room and studying. That's what it takes. And then Deron Payne talked about they're trying to get to the quarterback before the other person. So it's a team effort in what they're doing. And let me tell you a little bit about what Chase Young did on Sunday. 6 tackles, 2 quarterback hits, forced fumble, a fumble recovered, 47 yards he ran for a touchdown, 2 batted balls. I mean, he was a wrecking ball in that game, and not just only him, Tony. It's other people that have come in and doing their job on the defensive front, but it's better linebacker play, which Coach Rivera talked about that about 4 weeks ago. That is an area that needs to be better. But we talked about Curl and what he has done over the last few weeks. And Tony, the defense is just improving every week. And like you said, we haven't even touched the surface of how good they are going to be on down the stretch.
Hey, Milton and G, y'all heard what Donna just said. I never throw the defense under the bus. Gentlemen, can you
tell the truth?
We didn't have to take polygraphs coming in, Tony. So that's how come that stuff can get carried away like that. But let me just say this. Let me just say this. And I agree with Donna in terms of Chase Young. All of us can see that. I mean, he is something different. But let me just say this. Well, one brother that I think is not under the radar, but he has been in the game frame since day one, and that's Cameron Curl. I have liked him from day one, and he said things are slowing down for him now. Well, he was not afraid to come up and engage. He will put a hit on you. He was learning his craft. But now, if it's slowing down for him and he's playing like that, I think he's got a big-time upside. Big time.
I want to say one thing about Curl, and that is DeShazer Everett, who to me is my favorite player.
Yeah.
Because he knocks the snot out of people.
Good point.
And since he got on the field, receivers have been dropping the ball in large volume. And say another thing, too. This will be the last thing I'm going to say about Tony, because it's his birthday, and it's also the week of the birthday of David Deacon Jones. Both Jones and McGee did something that this young man has exactly replicated, and that is being able to get to the quarterback with 4 guys. See, when you do that, and all kidding aside, in Tony's era, David's era, they were sitting 4. And when you can raise that kind of cane with 4 guys, I tip my hat to him because that ain't easy. Now, we were blessed because we had Mac and we had Dex and we had Chuck and we had all those guys, but they got there in 4 with 4 guys. And that's why that secondary played better because that extra man is the balance. Now, Donna, after the show, break that down to Tony because he don't understand anything I just said.
Wait, you see? Hey, don't you see me? I'm clueless. What he said? hey, Bob.
Hey, Tony, a quick question before you go to Milton. What have you saw in Chase Young in what, you know, what you're seeing from him right now, his techniques and all of that?
Right now, his technique is raw, but it needs to be raw for the simple reason he's developing as a player. And when I say developing, I know he played in college and all that, but he's becoming a pro player now. One thing you see that he has the ability, he has the speed, the strength, the size, and the knowledge to be as good as he want to be. Now what you're banking on, how good do he want to be? And now he don't need to be saying what Kobe would be doing right now because he's not in Kobe's field yet. He need to look at what he can do next to get better. Everything he did, though, he did it because of natural talent, not because of knowledge. When he put both of those together, the boy could be one of the best ever. But he has to put them together. And Doc is right. I was looking at the game on Sunday, and one thing that really got me, they had a guy that had five sacks, and he had on a 40 number. Defensive backs and stuff. When I was playing Big Dave Bus, Big Dexter Manley, Charles Mann, I mean, we had guys, PB, Perry Brooks that was out there, World Grant. Everybody could get to the quarterback. And Monty Coleman came in. We had 1 year where 3 guys had double-figure sacks, and Monty had 9 or 9.5 himself. So that's what we used to do to get to him. Now, Boss, when you look at this team defensively, and they got the kind of defensive line that they have, kind of remind me of a defensive line you played against what was dangerous like that had 4 number 1 draft choices that could play.
Well, I'll tell you what the defensive line does when it's pressuring the quarterback, it's like a water line in your garden hose. Pressure burst. And what happens? Your quarterback gets rattled. Your offensive line is confused. That leads to turnovers. Turnovers lead to losing. And that's one thing that this Redskin team has proven throughout this season. They can put pressure on the quarterback. They're going to get there. They're going to harass him. And it's all of a growing period because they've got so many young guys up front. They're just learning the game. They're infants walking through the NFL right now. But after a couple of years, you kind of get well-groomed. You know how to play the game. You know what to do. You know where to go. And it's not any question marks anymore.
Well, you know what, boss? Just because you my guy and we've been talking a long time, I'm not going to charge you that $10 that we charge every time somebody say Redskins on the show. It was 100, but you my guy. You know, they're going to say that I'm doing you a favor.
I love the football team.
You know what? Somebody said that the other day when we was out and they were saying, oh, it's the Washington team. And I don't know who it was said, I won my championship with the Redskins. So, you know, it's kind of hard for us just to give that up. And let's talk about that a little bit. We got a few minutes. I mean, is it hard for you guys? Because we did. We all of you down and started covering us when they was the Washington Redskins. And I know the name is offensive to other people and everything, but I don't feel bad when I make a mistake and say it, because when I go in there and look at the Super Bowl rings that I have, it got Redskin in it. It don't have Washington football team.
And they're always going to be what you just mentioned to me, because every one of my rings.
Say that $100, boss.
All of my rings say the Washington.
Right.
It's funny.
And I was one of those fortunate ones that got every one of the rings.
Exactly.
So,
Boss went to 4 Super Bowls. That's
Tony,
amazing.
I've been standing in the mirror to make sure that I say Washington football team, but I like what Rick did about probably 5 years ago. He started calling them the Burgundy and Gold. So he went away from the name quite a while ago. So I'm just practicing so that I don't do those slip ups, so that I don't have to pay them dollars that you, Gary, and Milton owe.
Well, you know
I'll
what?
tell you what.
Why do I just get thrown in there?
Hey, Milt, hold on.
If y'all ever get Tony to pay a fine, please take a
Yeah,
video.
let us know.
Because I don't think his arm will reach
Never
his
paid,
pocket.
no. Or a
Wait a
check.
minute. You guys know how hypocritical it was for me to be a uniform inspector.
I know it.
I was the only guy in the league
Black
with
high
black
tops.
shoes on.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
First time I
Let me
saw
tell you
that, I
this.
was like, what is Grandpa wearing over there?
No, that was Johnny U and Tony
That's-
McGee.
That's exactly who it was.
Yeah.
On defense.
You
On
joking,
Defense.
but I started wearing those shoes because they gave us high tops in Chicago when I played there. Because that was after we were still folding our helmets up and putting it in the pockets.
Yeah.
And we had those black shoes, and Johnny Unitas was wearing. They was like Johnny Unitas shoes. So every time I wore those shoes, exactly who I thought about, and that's no
Exactly.
joke. And I still have the shoes right now. Matter of fact, I still have to clean them off from playing. I ain't gonna tell you what was on them. All right, Milt.
Hey, Tony, I got just a quick question for Doc, if I might, because Doc gave me my, he's the one that broadened my view on this game.
Wait a minute. Milt, if this is something about football, you might as well just give up. And he didn't know. He was on the team even 20 years. He was on the show, and every week we had to give him cheat notes. So if it's football, don't even go there.
But Tony, it was either that, or when we were on the sideline together before the game, when the teams were warming up, it was either that or he was eating the peanuts I was bringing to the sideline.
Oh,
one or the other. But I want to turn to Roulier and Schweitzer, because Doc, for weeks now, you sang high praises for both of those brothers, even when I was ready to get rid of them when they were, not consistent enough. But you saw something. Talk about.
Well, no. What I saw. Well, first of all, Roulier he's been hurt. This is the second week. When an offensive lineman is nicked, they still have to play.
Yeah.
The other positions take off, but those guys have to play. So I noticed that I'm not critical of a guy if he's playing hurt in there against them big boys. And I think Roulier, same thing happened with 75 with Big Nasty. Morgan's been hurt every year, but it's the first year he didn't have off-season surgery. And Moses needed to elevate his game because he feels like he's a Pro Bowl player. But I said, we got to cut the film on. The film got to tell us that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, when he went to left, I was impressed. It's not easy. I mean, Jeff was in the middle. He'll tell you. And Jeff had the ability to pull right or left with equal skill. Not everybody has that. Some guys favor a side. Some guys are better on a certain side. The great ones have balance. Schweitzer, to me, struggled a little bit at right, has been an anchor at left. 67, been getting blown off the ball. I was worried about Lucas. But again, I mentioned knee benders. When big guys are 340, 6'8", but now that boy's bending his knees. He's getting leverage. Bugles would love this kid now. And so that's what I see. Now, they don't get to run it a lot, so you see him in the 2-point stance, kicking back and all that crap they do regularly. But if they ever get in a fist fight, at least now they can win. When in the past, they had no shot.
Yeah,
but if they get in a fist fight now, they can win.
To Doc's point, you don't hear their names so much anymore either, which means they getting better.
No, their coach is getting it. He's getting it out of them. And I love Callahan, but Cal's been with several offensive lines that have been really noted. But in the end, I like this group. Now, this guy's getting results because guys got to get better in front of your face, man. We are so used to hoping that the kid in college becomes a kid with the pros because our coaches don't elevate nobody.
You're right.
See, we've been through a black hole of instruction. We hire so poorly that as a result, those kids don't have a chance. When you start getting good coaches, it don't matter what round you drafted in.
Yeah, come on.
Because everybody ends up playing collectively. So finally,
and how ironic is this that we lose Joe Bugle and Jim Hannafin within a 6 or 7 month period of each other? And let me say this.
Crazy.
Joe Bugle taught a bunch of young guys how to play offensive line.
Yeah.
And Jim Hannafin stepped in right at the perfect time in my career personally, because I couldn't take any more of Bug's harassment. I mean, you knew the meetings because you could hear them halfway across the building.
We heard the projectors being smashed against the wall. Yeah.
And he had one standard: excellence. Nothing else was accepted.
Yeah.
Hey,
You
Tony,
know what? We got to take a break down. I'm going to have to get you on the way back. And, we're talking about excellence now. And so, you know what? The four of us other ones going to work to get somebody off the set that's not excellent. So, he's one they, Doc. We'll be back in a minute. I can't think of his name. Doc. We'll be back in a moment. Well, each and every week, as we always say, you talk about the offense, you talk about the defense, but special teams, we've been lamenting somewhat that the special teams weren't doing what we thought they could do or adding to the team. But on Sunday, we saw a little bit how they can help this team. And what do you think about it? Is that a start? Do we use the same people? We need somebody who can break it off every now and then. But you made a great point. They had a good play, but the offense didn't take advantage of it.
Yeah, well, but it's nice to see that you have return guys that can give you 10 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards at a click from time to time, and eventually take us up into the house. But it's a start. Tress Way did a great job. Obviously, he did a good job. But it's always nice to see that you got somebody who can break it, because it puts another element that they have to prepare for. Because if I don't have a guy that can break it, they don't have to prepare for it. The more time you have in preparing for something, there's something else that you can do about it as well. So I'm happy. It's the best return game we had so far this year. So we got to take it. You got to give them an A+ on what they did do.
Amen.
all I want to say is the Homer down there wanted to get rid of Hopkins a while ago. They because the Homer normally would just say, give them a chance. But he wanted Hopkins gone, and he has been consistent in the last 3 games. And also Mike did too.
Donna, I'm going to nod just because that's how you feel about your cousin. But I had to back off.
He does have a solid last name.
Mark Mosley salvaged my thoughts about.
It took Mark Mosley.
Well, because I didn't want him kicking if he was hurt. But I have to say he has done well and been consistent the last 2 games. So tell Cuz
I tried to tell you, Milton, that he was hurt.
Tell Cuz when you see him, thumbs up on him. Thumbs up on him.
Hey, Donna, you did kind of get personal on that. You know your cousin is doing the best he can do, but it was a time we wanted him out of here.
I said,
hey, Tony.
Hey, Rick.
Nothing personal. Nothing personal.
Did y'all hear
I talked to Mark Mosley as well. When in doubt, I go to Mo. Mo said it's all in his head. He'll be fine. I dropped it. I'm good.
Yeah. But wait a minute. Did you see how Milton came to? Well, I go to Mark Mosley. And Mosley said he got real.
I'm not polished yet. Yeah. I'm not polished yet, Tony.
Hey, the reason Mosley won the MVP, right?
Oh yeah.
His snapper, me.
That's right.
It starts right there, Jeff.
He'd have never won it, right?
It starts with you, Jeff. It does. It starts with you.
I should have got a third. Theismann should have got a third, and Mosley should have got a third.
But now, when they take the picture, man, you're gonna have to get in on it. But speaking of that, and speaking of going further, these special teams are going to be very important. But one thing that's happening right now, and I guess we have to say it, I never thought I'd be saying it, but the NFC East, who they say is the least, seem to be doing the best in the last week or so. Only one of them lost. They're playing better ball, and the basis of it seem like they all want to try to run the ball more. So tell me, guys, is this NFC East going to finally be the beast like we know them as being?
Well, I think they have to. I think why teams are playing better right now, because they know whoever wins the most games is going to be the winner of that division. I think that's why they're playing so hard right now, because whoever wins the most games, no matter what that is, even if it's a record where it's not 500, is going to win that division. So I think that's motivated them, because they all have a chance to win it at the end of the day. But right now,
wouldn't that be something, 6-10?
Hey, Tony, when you look at the schedule of all the teams, the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Eagles, and then Washington, they finish up with Seattle, Carolina, and then Philadelphia. And you look at the Giants, the Cowboys, their schedule is somewhat tougher, but it's going to come down to almost this team winning out as far as beating Seattle, beating Carolina and the Eagles, and they have the capability to do that. And like I said, I think that is the key to have Alex Smith back this week against Seattle.
I think if the Redskins
now, though, I said 2 weeks ago, because we effed up against the Giants and gave away 2 games.
Yes.
Our playoffs started 2 weeks ago. We can't lose another game.
Oh.
So it's sudden death right now. These people call shows and they say, what do you think? We're in a week-to-week life-saving mode right now.
You're right.
The hell you worried about down the road? You won't be in it down the road if you lose. Every game is winner take all. And if this defense gets it together and they need to get a hold of Dwayne Haskins and get him to understand what's at stake. I don't care about your past. I don't care about your future. But right now, you need to set your feet up and do what God gave you the ability to do. Sling that ball. And if he get in there and throw that ball the way he's capable of throwing it, if Smitty can't come back, then we have a chance. If not, you got no chance.
Yeah.
100% right on that one. And you know what? Not only that, we also, and Boss, you're going to have to just tell me, I know they're being better, they playing better, they look better, they are better, but that offensive line now got to get in a running mind. This is in the wintertime. We starting to play in December, and you want to play in January. You want to play in February. For the Super Bowl, you have to run that ball now. Can this offensive line get that kind of mindset?
Let me ask you this. Can this coaching staff get that mindset? Because the plays come from the sideline. And I would encourage the offensive play callers to start leaning on the run maybe 15, 20% more than they are. If they're carrying it 20 times a game, let's make it 25, 30. Right. Because the weather is going to start coming in. It's going to be colder. The field's going to be a little bit more sloppy because of the season. So running the ball is going to be essential.
Now, Gary, I know you don't want to talk now because we're talking about running the ball. So you come on back in. You can unmute your mic and tell us, when it gets cold, is it going to be hard on your boys to catch the ball?
No, I mean, they got gloves for that now. It's not like it was in the older days, man. And now they got the type of technology now that you can put a glove on, put it out there, and it'll stick to it. It'll just stick to the glove. So they'll be fine in curse to that. I think the team has to understand right now they control their own destiny. They went out, they go to the playoffs. That's all they had to do. They went out, they go to the playoffs. It's that simple. So I think that's a strong motivation when you know you control your own destiny.
But you know what?
If they don't go to the playoffs, it's their fault. They got nobody to blame but themselves.
Nobody.
Because they control their own destiny right now.
Well, what team in the NFC East, now they lost to the Giants, which was not better than them, but what other team could step up and be a danger, not only to them, but the rest of the league?
New York's the only team that they have to worry about because New York beat them twice. Quite honestly, New York beat them twice. So if they tie, New York goes, no matter what. I mean, that's really have to worry about because New York, quite honestly, had the momentum until we just took it away. Because it was New York that was on a 4-game winning streak until they got beat. So honestly, if we beat Seattle, that's the toughest game we have remaining in the season in Seattle, in my opinion.
Now, Seattle is a very good team, but if we look around, guys, anybody can answer this that want to. I can see where we can match up against Seattle. Now, the one thing about Seattle, they have a great running game, but they have 2 running backs that's been hurt quite a bit this year. They have a beast of a wide receiver. And I tell you, he's the guy that scares me most of all. But if you look at that game, and Doc, you know this, all you guys know this, the person that stirs the drink is their quarterback. And the Washington team have 4 guys that can get to the quarterback. Could this be the matchup to make the Washington team may be the better team this weekend?
Well, I think, Tony, you called it out because Russell Wilson has struggled because that offensive line has not been solid for him. If you get after him, you're going to cause problems because when you look at the games that Seattle has lost, it's because the defense has put pressure on him. And so I think that's the key right now is the pressure on him in that game. I think it's going to cause problems.
Yeah, I agree. I think the thing with Wilson is that Bostic has elevated his level of play. We were awful. We were just very inconsistent at linebacker.
Wait, Jeff Boston's back out there?
No, not Jeff. I wish Jeff was out there.
That's my brother John.
It's a brother from another mother. But I think Bosco's improvement, those young linebackers now give us a chance. So I'm really encouraged by 55, 57, and what these guys have been able to do. Now, if they stay consistent with it, because our secondary has got out of playing loose coverage. We tightened up. We actually looked like a secondary last week.
Yes.
These guys been playing so far off, I think they're throwing the game.
Look like another game.
Yeah, so now, again, I give coaching credit. They've made the adjustments. Del Rio was patient, but he was honest.
Yeah.
And these guys now have come together. It's all on them now. If they want to be heroes, it's there for them. They don't need to do anything else now. They can walk the dog all the way in and host a home playoff game. And if they don't, they have nobody to blame but themselves.
Well, you know, we got to take another quick break right now. Donna, while we're in break, why don't you write Rick some more cheat sheet notes, because he'd have run out. He just said too many good things. You know he cheated. He ain't just said it on his own. Now, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the picks, which we've got it now where Mike can't just pencil whoop us all the time. But somebody is way back behind and he doesn't show up all the time. And they call him Homer or something. I don't know what that is. We'll talk more about it when we come back. Well, welcome back. And you know, there's one thing about it, and we've had fun this show, but the thing about it that's made it even more fun, we get an opportunity to talk about a Washington team that we thought was not very good has an opportunity to get into the playoffs, and not only get in the playoffs, maybe make some noise. At the same time, you look at a team 3 or 4 weeks ago that had a chance to tie the game but chose to win it. You look at a team that made a decision. Guys, it looked like to me, and I was telling Donna and the rest of them on the show, when the coach made the decision not just to go to tie the game, to go for the win, and he lost it. He did a great thing for building character on this team. In other words, to me, and you guys can chime in whenever you want, to me, he was saying, we're not just going to tie this, we're going for the win. Give me your thought process, because I think that's the only reason they are where they are right now.
Well, Tony, you said it, because Ron Rivera said at that point that he was trying to teach this team how to win, and they actually have learned how to win. So, I mean, that statement that he made and what he did, I think was the turning point in moving this team forward.
I want to go for it, but his quarterback choked. I mean, you know, you don't get it no man's land. It's 4th down. We saw Haskins choke on the 4th down at home. We saw this kid, but they're young. This is what happens when they're young. Alex, that ain't gonna happen. The ball will be released. And so next time Haskins gets a shot or Allen gets a shot, they'll be better. I'm not turning nothing over to defense. We had too many nightmares messing around with guys like Tony we had to go through. We're going to finish it on offense and going home, okay? And I think that's what he did.
There's no question in my mind what Joe Jackson Gibbs would have done. He would have gone for the win.
Yeah.
He would have put it on the offensive line, given it to number 44.
Yeah.
Let's win the game.
Yeah. It wouldn't have been no run-pass option.
Hey, y'all hear how bad they talk about your homeboy here? I mean, the thing about it, I'd have told them the year before I came, they didn't even make the playoffs. Then the year I left, they didn't make it.
Tony, it took you coming.
Hey, Tony, I don't want to alarm you.
That is true.
We went to 2 Super Bowls after you retired.
Right. You notice I didn't mention those. Wait, I was holding y'all back. You know what? When you look around the league, though, and maybe it's the pandemic, maybe it's a lot of other things that's transpiring. It's a big change, and I think a lot of it has to do with the collective bargaining. I think even if we did not have the pandemic, we'd have the same problem because they do not have a training camp. They do not hit enough. Their bodies are not ready for what they need to do. And that's why I'm seeing so many injuries as I'm seeing now. G, you used to have to every week rehab to get out on the field. Now you look, and these players now are going out just like Beckham. They're in in Ohio. He's second year in a row, he's gone. I don't know if it was an injury. Now, I seen you get out there where you could barely walk, but you're out there playing. The players are not like that now. And I think it's because they're not conditioned or ready to play. You guys can just tell me what you feel.
A lot has to do with the competition behind you too. I think that has a lot to do. I mean, I was really smart. I mean, the reason that I played through injuries is because they brought in this kid named Ricky Sanders. You know, this before we went to 3 wides, we were just 2 wides. And me and Art Monk both looked at Ricky one day in practice, and we kind of looked at each other and said, hey, he may be better than both of us. So I knew at that time, if I got hurt, Ricky was going to take my job. That's the way I looked at it. I was like, I'm not giving my job up. I'm going to take that needle on Friday. I'm going to take that needle again on Sunday 3 times during the course of that game. And I'm going to come out and play at the end of the day. But I think that has a lot to do with it. And the league is just a little different now. It's a little softer. You know, and don't get me wrong. I think the league over time always gets softer.
But you know what you guys and what we did as a team, we didn't want to let our teammates down.
Yeah.
We wanted to do everything we could to perform.
Big time.
Well, you know what? And G, you said it right. I was a sucker. I kind of fell into it. Let me help Charles Manning. Let me have Dexter Manley. Let me help these guys. They was here when I left. They stepped me off.
Hey, Tony, you did yourself in. You did yourself in, Tony.
Tony,
No,
as you
but you
said,
did, Tony, but you got them ready to play earlier than they would have been able to play.
And they made a lot more money. I should have got myself ready to stay a little longer.
Yeah, but you got a lot of years instead. I'm telling you, you just didn't get paid for it like these guys did.
Hey, Donna, we have a couple of Black 14 questions. We only got a couple of minutes left, and I promised them I would get them on. So see what you can do for me.
Yeah, Tony, the first one comes from Tamika Carter. She said, how many Black 14 members are still living and what are they doing? What are they doing?
Well, they're doing a lot, and it's 11 of us still living. And right now we've formed a LLC, a 501c3. And if you guys, you heard me say about 2 weeks ago, the Black 14 gave away $450,000 worth of food to cities in need. And we gave that to the Latter-day Saints, gave us the food to give the individuals. So we're all working together to put a wrong and make it right. And it's really something that I feel like now we're all working together for that. But it's very good. Keep your eye on it.
And Tony, also, they wanted to know as far as the relationship between the remaining members of the Black 14, and what are some of those conversations in, you all moving forward in what each person is doing today?
What we want to do is make sure it didn't define us, and it did. And most of the players now are doing positive things. We've had our people that had to slip, but at the same time, we as a group are trying to work together. This pandemic, we were working on stuff before it even came around, and now it's falling right into place. What we wanted to do when they see the Black 14 is not talk about how we were messed over or anything like that. Talk about how we have been served, and we have been the people that they have helped us to help people. We've served served people and was able to do that with food that they gave us. And when you start talking about each truck, they gave us 9 trucks with 40,000 pounds of food on it to distribute to the neighborhoods in need. I can't talk bad about them. I feel like not only the Black 14 is doing better, I feel like the Latter-day Saints are making up for what they think they did to us, which they did not do. It was the people back then. Now, I know I'm running out of time and everything, and you're talking about doing better. We try to do better on each show this week, each and every week. And you know what? We bring on Rick, and I'm going to ask Rick, and I'm going to ask Boss to come back on again because you guys made it a good show. But I always ask you fans to come back. We have fun here, but we try to give you information. And the one thing that's important about it is we may not always be right, but we're always going to try to do right. Now, I want each of you guys to tell me quickly, this Washington team, what do they need to do to beat Seattle? Give me a quick one. We only got a couple of minutes.
Don't turn it over.
Run the ball, control the clock.
Keep Russell Wilson off the field, period. Control the time of possession.
And I'm just going to say quickly with the picks, Tony and I are leading the picks by 1. Gary's in second. And Milton and Mike are pulling up the rear.
Gary, wait a minute, Gary. She didn't even let you do your comment. She wanted to know wanted everybody to know who was last.
Well,
Gary, what do they need to
Gary,
do to beat Seattle?
That is cold-blooded.
What a way to end the show. What a way to end the show.
That is so cold-blooded.
But you know what? We may have a little. I see can we steal some more time. But you know what, guys? Let's take a look at this, and you fans as well. You know, we had a lot of fun talking about that today and everything, but each and every week things change. So what we're looking at now is one thing. We all in the game ourselves, and this is a game of life. So what we got to do is play our best plays, do whatever we can to help the team. The team is the human race. And what we got to do is what we can do to make everything better. And we know that everything lies in one hand, and that's the only way we're going to make it through this. But one thing we do know, if we don't do it as a family, as a people, as united, it's not going to get done. So whatever you can do to help somebody, it doesn't matter if you are a Republican or you a Democrat, just be a good person and help people.
Hey, Tony, I just have to interrupt you because the producer said that you're not done yet because you have to come back for another segment.
Oh, no, I'm not coming back for nothing. I'm doing my wrap up now.
Hey,
all
the
you
producer
fans
wrote
want
that.
to see another segment, y'all gonna have to pay me overtime.
Novena.
I got a little segment left.
The segment
That was fantastic.
Huh?
The segment when y'all come back should be about me. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, please.
I say, Novena, that was a great job. Give her credit for what she just wrote. You believe he actually said that right? He didn't mess it up at all? Wait, that was fantastic.
Well, you notice I didn't finish it because I lost my place on the sheet.
Novena did a great job, man. I love that.
Hey, Tony, you got to put some of these on.
Yeah, that was good.
But she kept telling me we had enough time, but let me finish that. I will not do this at the end of the show, but as I was saying, individuals, and we do talk about doing the show different things, and we know it's tough. Just make sure you're doing right, because one thing about it is you may not be together for this Christmas, but you want to be together next Christmas. So, you know, that's why I'm saying do what you can do. Now, we do have another segment to come back. So, Donna, you can talk about how Milt's in last place if you want. I don't mind. Just be glad that we don't have Rick Walker in these picks. You talking about being last. We got a whole nother segment. So
you ain't lying. I don't pick games. I'm an analyst.
As you look at it, there's a picture. We need a picture of Gary Clark. He said he hasn't got enough of it this show. Gee.
That's a great shot. That's all I have to say. That's a great shot. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you for coming back, G. We glad you're here. Now, are you playing this weekend? Are you going to be in town, out of town? When I say play, I'm just talking about you a player.
I will be washing Doc Walker's car. That's what I'll be doing. I'll be polishing Mr. Walker's car to make sure that his limo takes him wherever he needs to go.
But Doc, you told me this is my weekend to wash the car.
No, I'm done, man. I ain't got nowhere to go. I don't know what he's talking about. Yeah.
He just wants it polished in his driveway, just so people know that the limo is there.
Hey, boss. When Doc was on it, just tell me this. Could he catch?
Well, we threw to him about 6 times a year. I think he probably had 40, 50%. Yeah, he was okay.
Okay, well, now you answered my question. You know what, fans? I know what you saw me and Doc do this for years. We'll try to get him back, but look at the rest of the guys on this, and they make a great show. And we thank you for being with us, enjoying it. But one thing we do, we don't say goodbye. We say in the minute.